What, if anything, do you know now that you didn't know before?
Our mentor, Laura Hansfield, taught us a lot about breast cancer, and what I really didn't understand or really didn't know before is that breast cancer has a lot of different stages, and I can't remember specifically what they were, but there was a lot of different stages and like how curable they are and stuff. And like I also didn't know that whenever you're going through chemotherapy, that they have like a port, like a literal port right here. I didn't exactly know what that was, and she taught us all about that, and that was really cool. And also, I didn't only learn about breast cancer through my Genius Hour, I also learned about teaching. I didn't know teaching a class would be so, like, chaotic and, like, hands full of everything. I thought it was just going to be like, okay, like, I'm going to teach you this and whatever, because, like, I'm used to giving presentations to kids my own age, and they pay attention, you know. But since we were doing with younger kids, I learned about teaching, and that was also really cool.
What, if anything, can you do now that you couldn't do before?
I feel like I kind of did it all, but I would probably try to talk to more mentors. We pretty much zoned in on one mentor, and she helped us so much through it all, and I really, really liked having her along the way. But I would have talked to more people about their experiences, or maybe somebody with like a different type of cancer, so you can compare them and stuff.
Sure. Let me go ahead and kind of tweak that question a little bit. So then, when we think about the idea of inquiry,
Mm-hmm.
There was life before inquiry, reading, writing, being in class, and then there was life after participating in inquiry. What are some things that you can do because of your experience with inquiry?
I think inquiry, especially since I'm in high school now, classes are a lot more fast paced. And sometimes it like gets away from me and I zone out with whatever I'm doing. I could be checking my phone or something. But I ask more questions in class now, and it helps my understanding a lot, especially in Spanish, because I kind of jumped into Spanish this year, and she'll start babbling in Spanish and something, and I'll just ask her a question about it, and it really helps me to understanding through all my academics, and even in sports. I noticed this year, especially in volleyball, I was asking a ton of questions, which, I mean, it really helped my understanding, and I thought it improved me as a player, and in school it improved my understanding of everything.
Okay. What do you think had the most influence throughout your process? Besides, I hear questioning is an influence, but what do you think this experience, what had the most influence on you? This could be as a person, as a learner, both.
I think what really had a big impact on me is that we had to stick with it for so long. Mm-hmm. It helped with my follow through of everything, and there were times when Ellery and I would be talking, we'd be like, this is getting so old, like, we need to start something new. And then we'd need to jump into a new process of, like, or, like, a new part of our Genius Hour. And so everything became new to us again, and it was, like, it helps with my follow-through of things. And I want to do more, like, especially in school, because before I'd procrastinate so much. And now this year, actually, I'm getting, like, stuff done earlier, so I really thought it helped me, like, with doing stuff sooner.
Good. How do you think technology impacted your thinking throughout your experience with inquiry?
Technology was like the most helpful thing ever.
Okay.
Because if our mentor said something that we didn't understand, we'd just like, oh, Google it, and we'd look it right up. And also we could Skype her or FaceTime her because she lived kind of far away, so we didn't always have connections with her. So that was super helpful. And then when we were teaching the class, we used this thing called Kahoot It, and it's an online questions thing. It's a game. That was super helpful. Like, that's one of the things I think that they got into most. We put all of our notes online for the most part. So I think technology was probably the biggest thing that we used all through everything. And also we recorded some of our interviews with Laura, so then we could look back at them, take notes, like talk about what she had to say, so then we could like repeat and like make sure we knew exactly what she said. So technology was super helpful through everything.
Did you grow a comfort in technology? And if you did grow a comfort in technology, where do you feel a little bit more comfortable now based on your experience?
I definitely grew a comfort in technology, because probably going into junior high I was like, oh, technology, God, I hate it. It's always like shutting down, like worthless. But through Genius Hour, I kind of figured out that technology is actually a really useful thing, because my family and I used to have talks about, like, oh, it's so worthless, like, that's what this world is coming to, but it's actually super, super helpful, and I really like it now. And also, I've never really used, like, Apple products, and we had, like, the iPads to use along the way, and they're, like, super easy to use and really fun, and I really liked it. And through our Monster unit, I remember we did, like, poster, like, sign printout things, and also technology was, like, the key there. Like, that was so cool to use. And getting an app on the iPads, I don't remember what it was called, but we could, like, black out things and stuff, and it just made everything look cooler and easier, and it was just super, super helpful through everything.
Sure. How do you suppose your creativity was challenged or maybe flourished during your time working with inquiry?
My creativity was pushed. It was, like, pushing my buttons for a while, because I was like, I can't think of new ideas, and, like, my partner, she's always super creative and, like, has new funky ideas for everything, and we were trying to create our poster for Genius Hour, actually, and I was like, Ellery, this is so plain, like, what are we going to do? And then, so we actually got paint and made it, like, fade out from pink to white, and creativity was also used a lot whenever we started teaching our 3rd grade class, because we were like, okay, they're kids, like, we have to think of games to play, so we had to kind of get creative and, like, use what we had to teach them. And also, I think that that's just a really helpful skill to have, is, like, use what you have to be creative and make things fun. So we did a game, like, headbands, where you put things on your head and you can't see what they are, but we just used little slips of paper and taped it on their backs.
What did you learn about collaboration throughout this process, and how has that impacted your collaborative efforts currently?
What is collaboration?
Oh, that's okay. Collaboration is working in a group or a partnership when you collaborate with one another to achieve a goal.
Collaboration was definitely a huge thing through this all. Not only working with just that one partner for so long, but working with everybody, because, like, we only had a limited amount of, like, iPads and Chromebooks and supplies and stuff, so you had to communicate with them, like, hey, once you're done, I need that, or, like, can I use it this day, we really need it, we're falling behind or something. And so working with other people was definitely huge, and, like, you're stuck with this one partner, well, I wouldn't say stuck, but you have this one partner for so long, and you have to communicate with them about everything. So I think that's really, really good to teach and to learn, that, like, communication is key through everything, is what I think. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that you had to work together for everything. Like, I remember in that Monster unit, everything was such a mess for a while, because we had different groups doing different things. We had, like, a website group, we had a group doing, like, posters, we had a bunch of different groups, and everybody just kept, like, combining and stuff. So we all had to split up for a while and just use what we had and do our own thing and get done what we had to.
What do you suppose was the most challenging aspect within inquiry?
The most challenging was probably time. Ellery and I procrastinated a little bit, and like I said earlier, I learned not to procrastinate. It's probably the biggest reason why I know now not to procrastinate, because we came down to the end of our project, we were like, oh darn, like, what are we going to do now? But we definitely needed time, and I remember we always told you that. You're like, what do you need from me? What can I help you with? We're always like, time, Bonner, time. Like, we need time. So I think we struggled a little bit with our time management skills, but we kind of got that ironed out, and we got it all fixed, and it was all good.
Talk to me about the idea of being engaged in inquiry. Was this something that really kept your engagement going compared to, like, say, other classes and your other experiences as a learner?
Inquiry was definitely huge. Like, I wanted to be involved in it. I wanted to do this. Like, English was my first and second hour class of the day, and I always wanted to be in English. Like, it was my favorite class of the day because you were just involved in something, and since you got to choose your own topic and for Genius Hour and all that, like, that was huge, and it was something that you wanted to do, so it made you, like, drive and, like, want to do it more. And so that was really fun, and also like I said earlier, through our monster unit, you could choose what group you wanted to be in, and I super, super, like, loved that we got to create our little poster things, and I thought ours turned out really well. I thought it was super cool seeing, like, what it was, and I really enjoyed that, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. What do you think is the most interesting aspect of your experience with inquiry? The one interesting, the most interesting thing.
Whenever we were teaching our class for Genius Hour, we asked them how many people. Wait, what did we ask them? We asked
This was your 3rd grade class that you taught, right?
Yeah, we were teaching the 3rd grade class, and we asked them, how many of you know somebody who has cancer or has had cancer? And, like, the whole class raised their hand. And we asked them how many people know anything about cancer, and there was a few people that listed general things, like you lose your hair, but they didn't know why. They didn't know any reasoning as to that. And then, like, we knew we targeted the right audience, and that was just really cool. Like, Ellery and I kind of looked at each other and had, like, that aha moment, like, it's paying off. Like, you did it.
And how did that make you feel?
That made me feel really good, honestly, because it just seemed like I was like, oh, we got to go teach this class today. And she's like, I don't know how it's going to go. I'm kind of nervous. And, like, once that happened, we were like, we targeted the right audience. Like, we got this. It's going to be great. We did it.
Well, and honestly, I mean, you learned, I mean, the next question deals with what were some unwritten skills that you had to use, strengthen, or improve on to be successful throughout your interactions with inquiry? I would probably argue that you had to do a little bit of side knowledge of understanding teaching a little bit.
Yeah. And honestly, it might sound a little bit pathetic, but we Googled, like, how to be a good teacher, how to get kids involved and stuff. Because, I mean, like, we were, 14-year-olds? We're not going to know all that. And, like, we've had good teachers, and, of course, we went through, like, our 3rd grade teachers and stuff and all that. But, like, we wanted them to have fun. We didn't want it to be, like, a class. We wanted it to be a fun activity for them to also learn from. So we definitely had to learn about teaching, and we also had to learn about, like, how interactive they were going to be and how to get them involved, because we didn't want them, like, oh, yeah, great, another guest speaker, here we go. Like, no, we wanted to be that fun, like, thing.
So going back to that same question, I hear teaching. When we think about unwritten skills, you know, the written skills are what we use with writing and what we use to comprehend reading, and those are all very written, what we call standards.
Right.
But what were the unwritten things that you either had to use, strengthen, or improve on when you had to work with inquiry? Do you get what I mean by unwritten?
Yeah.
Okay.
Teaching was the biggest one, and then there's probably, like I mentioned earlier, time management.
Okay.
That wasn't really, like, a thing we had to do. I know we had a few guidelines maybe about that here and there, and we talked about it a little bit. That was definitely something that I improved on a lot, and it was really, really helpful for me in my future. Like, in high school now, I'm so glad that I did this, because it's there, and, like, it's still happening. It may not be, like, what we chose our topic on, that may not still be impacting us, but what we learned through it is still impacting us. Probably the unwritten skills are the biggest thing that, like, I carry with me.
Okay. How has your experiences with inquiry impacted your learning process? So how has this translated to you as a learner as you've moved on in grade levels?
In learning, whenever we have a class discussion, I feel like I talk more than everybody else. I don't know, like, I feel like it's almost a bad thing sometimes, because, like, people are like, gosh, Allyson, are you ever going to stop? And I'm just like, and then blah, blah, blah. And, like, I keep talking or asking questions or something. But it gets me engaged in what's happening, and it gets me, like, to understanding more. And it just helps my learning so much, because I kind of created the skills, like, through everything. Like, I had to interview Laura Hansfield, and pretty much Ellery and I would both ask questions, but she was taking notes on a Google Doc at the time. And so I was pretty much asking most of the questions. So, like, I learned to, like, I wasn't necessarily comfortable with her at the time because she was new and everything, but I learned to overcome that and just go with it and, like, ask